Hello and welcome back. We are going to be looking at some more from the book of Psalms today. And again, my name is Nathan House and I'm with the Houston Church of Christ in Houston, California. And if you can like or subscribe to this video, that would be appreciated. I have on the screen a slide that I've shared with you guys already a couple of times. Want to point out a few things real quickly. We're going to look at a couple of Psalms where Yahweh is depicted as a warrior, as this one who is rescuing God's people or rescuing God's king. So we're going to look at some of these Psalms. At least we're going to kind of introduce this idea of Yahweh as a warrior. You can see these categories here, and you'll notice here in Psalm 144, it's categorized as a royal psalm, and yet this psalm depicts God as a warrior. We're also going to look at Psalm chapter 3, and this is a lament psalm, and yet this one also depicts God as a warrior. So we're going to see that this idea of God as a warrior can come from all sorts of areas, all sorts of genres of psalms. And so we're going to begin here in Psalm chapter 144, and notice a couple of things about this before we move on to Psalm 3. Notice the psalmist as he begins this. Notice his confidence. Notice his conviction of who God is. Notice that verse 1. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hand for war. So again, notice this idea of war and warrior. He trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. He is my steadfast love and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield, and he in whom I take refuge, who subdues peoples under me. Notice this repeated confidence that the author has here. Blessed be the Lord, my rock. He is confident of who the Lord is. He is my rock. Notice what else he says. He trains my hands and my fingers for battle. He is my steadfast love, my fortress. Again, my stronghold, my deliverer. He's not just a stronghold. He's not just a fortress, a whatever. The psalmist sees him very much so as his own. He is my steadfast love. He is my fortress, my stronghold, my deliverer, my shield. All of these things now bring him to this point, and he in whom I can take refuge. You know, when we go through hardships and struggles, when we go through difficult times in our life, we'll turn to all sorts of places, all sorts of people, all sorts of things and situations to try to turn to them as a refuge. We turn to people as a refuge. We turn to those whom we love. We may turn to money. But the psalmist says these things, God is my refuge. God is my fortress. God is my rock. And in him I take refuge. Wherever we're at in our life, whatever things we're going through, we have to make sure that this is who we turn to. This is who we turn to. Notice something else real quick that's kind of interesting. Notice verse 3. O Lord, what is man that you regard him, or the son of man that you think of him? This should immediately take us back to Psalm chapter 8, which we looked at last time. I believe it was last time. Here's Psalm 8. What is man? This is verse 4. What is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you care for him? So here we have again this question in the middle of this psalm. What is man that you're regarding him? Why do you care about us? Here the psalmist is pointing out God as his warrior, God as his protector, God as his deliverer. And again, the question, but why do you care? So again, this is an interesting psalm. We're not going to spend time in this really. I want to go to the next psalm really, but I'll just kind of point out something else. There is this repeated question here. Rescue me, or request, I should say, rescue me and deliver me from the many waters. So again, this many waters is a figure of speech in scriptures. It's often used to depict difficulties, tribulations, hardships, right? Deliver me from these many waters, from the hand of foreigners, whose mouth speak lies, and in whose right hand is a right hand of falsehood. So we can kind of again see what the problem is for the psalmist. He's having problems with these who are his enemies, right? And then again, we see this. Notice again, rescue me, deliver me, right down here. Rescue me and deliver me from the hand of foreigners. So these things are repeated here. And so again, the request is for deliverance. Their request is for God to help the psalmist. And again, he's confident of it. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains me. He is these things. So then at the end of the psalm, because he is confident, because he has this conviction, right, that God is these things, he cries out in verse 15, or he writes in verse 15, blessed are the people to whom such blessings fall. Blessed are the people whose God is Yahweh. Blessed are the people whose God is the Lord. Now let's look at Psalm 3 real quick. Again, this is a psalm of lament. So the last one was a royal psalm. And so I didn't read the psalm very carefully, but it talks about David and it talks about the king and stuff. You can read that on your own a little more carefully. But here in Psalm 3, this is a psalm of lament. So the psalmist is writing from, again, David is writing from a place of distress, a place of struggles, a place of question. Again, notice again the problem. O Lord, how many are my foes? Many are rising up against me. Many are saying of my soul, there is no salvation for him in God. So his enemies are taunting him. There's no one, God's not going to deliver you. There's no salvation for you in God. But notice again the conviction of the psalmist. Notice again this belief in who God is. And again, go back to what we saw in Psalm 144, right? God is my refuge. It doesn't say he might be my refuge. He might be my deliverer. He might be my fortress. The psalmist was confident in it. Just like David is in Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. Not he might be my shepherd, he is my shepherd. So here again, he says, they were taunting him. There's no salvation for him in God. You know, we're going to have times in our life where people taunt us, where people ridicule us, where the world mocks us. We have to be convicted that God is these things for us in our life. We have to be convicted. We have to be confident of our relationship with God, even in difficult times. Notice what he says in verse 3, but you, O Lord, are a shield about me. Again, Yahweh is Yahweh as the warrior, right? You're the one who protects me. You're my shield, my glory, the lifter of my head. I cried aloud to the Lord, and he answered me from his holy hill. You know, we come down to the second part of this. Look at verse 7. Arise, my Lord, save me, my God. For you strike all my enemies on the cheek. You break the teeth of the wicked. So this line here, right? And this line are saying the same thing. Again, this is Hebrew parallelism. And so this is synonymous parallelism where one line mirrors essentially the other. But again, arise, O Lord. Here's the request. Arise, save me, my God. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing be on your people. You know, I want to share with you a quote real quick that I thought was a great quote. I wanted just to share this with you. Courage doesn't need a crowd. It's easy, you know, when everybody else, you know, right now, when someone comes out as being, you know, a homosexual person, everybody applauds their courage for being. It doesn't take courage to come out and say you're homosexual. It doesn't take courage to do that. Right now, the world is promoting that. It's excited about that. It's not courage. What's courage now is coming out and saying, I'm a Christian. I live for Christ. I stand against sinful things. That takes courage. Courage doesn't need a crowd. It doesn't need endorsements. It doesn't need elected leaders' approval. Watch this. What does courage need? According to the Christian Post quote, I love this. Courage doesn't need these things. What does courage need? It needs conviction. Courage needs conviction. And we need to be convicted. We need to have every bit of confidence that God is our warrior, that the Lord is my refuge. And if we are convicted of this, we can be like the psalmist here in Psalm 3. And we can look at what he says here in verse 5 and 6. I lay down and slept. I woke up again, for the Lord sustained me. His enemies were about him, right there mocking him. But because he had confidence in God, he says, I lay down and slept. I woke again, for the Lord sustained me. Notice this awesome statement in verse 6. I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves against me all around. I'm not going to be afraid. Of all these people that have set themselves against me all around, I'm not going to be afraid. Why? because I believe wholeheartedly the Lord is my shield. We need to make sure that we are convicted. This is something that we believe, that we literally base our life on this. I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves against me. Courage doesn't need a crowd, it needs conviction. Are we convicted? Do we believe that the Lord is our warrior, that the Yahweh is our shield, our protector? You, O Lord, are a shield about me. Let's make sure that the Lord is our shield. And by the way, this doesn't mean we won't go through hardships. It doesn't mean we won't go through difficulties. It doesn't mean we won't be persecuted. In the New Testament, there is constantly attacks on Jesus Christ. There's constant attacks on his apostles. You read the book of Acts, and you are seeing a book jam-packed with persecution. But God still is our deliverer. God still is the one we turn to in our difficult times, because we are confident that he will be the one who sees us through them, that he will be the one who ultimately delivers us, whether on this earth or not. I will not be afraid of many thousands of people who have set themselves against me all around. Why not? Because the Lord is a shield about me. Thank you for your time.